So the unconscious mind is a big part of who we are, what we want to be, what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding how these levels of consciousness affect us is very important, particularly in the world that's now overcrowded, overheated, with a
Yes.
mood of anger around the place.
Yes.
Understanding yourself and your consciousness and how you can influence things and how you can help people, help yourself,
Yep. Yep.
is important.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our ongoing goal is to help our listeners live their best audacious life ever. I want to thank you for being here. It's really a pleasure to be able to share with you each and every episode. And thanks, guys, for taking time out of your day to join us. Now, just like the way a filing cabinet organizes and stores important documents, our consciousness and thoughts act as the filing systems for our beliefs and self-image. Dr. Anthony Emmett's insights will take us on a journey to understand how our unconscious mind influences our lives and shapes our reality. Now, Dr. Anthony Emmett is a retired surgeon turned artist, author, and consciousness explorer. He's got a background in surgery and a deep interest, but he's also got like a deep interest in consciousness as well. And he brings a unique perspective to understand the power of our thoughts and beliefs. His expertise in the field of consciousness and self-image and the power of thought makes him a really valuable guest on today's episode, and his experiences and knowledge shed light on how our subconscious mind impacts our daily lives and guides us as we take action throughout the day. It really is an insightful conversation I think you really appreciate. And so without any further ado, here's Dr. Emmett. Enjoy. Greetings, Dr. Emmett. Thank you for being here and joining me on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you making the time like this, Doctor.
Thank you.
Yes, it's, on this podcast, we spend much time talking to individuals about different ways, we can lead our best audacious lives, as we say. And I'm very much interested in hearing from your perspective. You've been in the medical field, specifically as a surgeon for many years, and performing and fixing deformities, if you will, and for children and adults, and making a difference really in people's lives. And so I really appreciate, again, you taking the time, and maybe as a starting point, because I do know that a lot of your work is around conscious living. And maybe as a starting point, maybe you can introduce yourself to our audience, and tell us a little bit about what the work that you do now that because you're retired, so you're not a surgeon anymore, you're retired, so you've moved on.
Yes, well, I retired when I was 61 from
Okay.
active surgery, but
Mhm.
I continued to lecture and write. And I retrained as an artist for 5 years.
Okay.
And during 2 of those years, I sought to prove to myself that I had an eternal spirit. And I did this by going one session a week with a clairvoyant who worked with a man in India. I was in Australia. And I worked at looking at what I'd been before in previous lives, because we all don't just get to be the interesting, exciting person we are through this one life, and we're all influenced by what we've been before, but we hold that in the deeper levels of our consciousness. So I was interested in studying consciousness. Um, we have our everyday consciousness that we're using now, but consciousness is a bit like an iceberg. The bit above the water is only about 15%. The rest of it's your unconscious mind,
Mm-hmm.
your the level you go to in sleep, which is at a higher vibrational frequency,
Mm-hmm.
and that opens into other levels. Now, you have your subconscious, which you use every day. That's quite well known. And that is an area that gives us advice. It files things we've learned and put in there. And there's also a higher conscious, which we connect into, but it runs at a higher frequency, a higher vibrational level than our human consciousness can sustain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our everyday conscious is a bit slower and not as perceptive. Subliminal images can be flashed on the screen. It's so quickly that our everyday conscious doesn't see it, but our unconscious mind, which is faster, more perceptive, will see it and record it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so everybody, um, consciousness comes into us when we're a baby being formed in our
Right.
mother's uterus or
Right.
womb.
Right.
And every cell in your body is conscious. You so you're born,
Mm-hmm.
and in the first 2 years, you learn love from your mother
Yes.
or whoever.
Yes.
But it's in the first 2 years that you learn love, and you file that, and that influences
Mm-hmm.
you for the rest of your life. You form a self-image in
Yes.
your unconscious mind. And love is an important part of that. Love makes life sparkle. Love is really what the whole thing is about. And you learn that in the first 2 years. And if that, and in your first 7 years, you learn from your family the way they behave,
Yes.
what
Yes.
they do.
Yep.
And people teach you doctorates, and they get filed in your self-image
Mm-hmm.
in the first 7 years. And this self-image I became interested in as a surgeon because I recognized that the results that I had with people very often were related to the self-image that they held of themselves in their
Yep.
unconscious mind.
Yep. Yep.
So the unconscious mind is a big part of who we are, what we want to be, what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding how these levels of consciousness affect us is very important, particularly in the world that's now overcrowded, overheated, with a
Yes.
mood of anger around the place.
Yes.
Understanding yourself and your consciousness and how you can influence things and how you can help people, help yourself,
Yep. Yep.
is important. For example, um, what you hold in your mind is broadcast to all the cells of your body. And if you're happy, you make your body well. It's interesting that the thoughts we hold in our mind influence our health in a big way because all the cells uh, respond to what you want. If you tell them you're happy and well, they'll be happy and well. If you tell them you're angry and bitter and unhappy, they won't function so well. They want to do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But now, this has never been emphasized as an aspect of health. And it's one of the things I'm pointing out in this book that you create your own influence
Yes.
on your own body, but you radiate that influence. Consciousness radiates. And that's part of your charisma, that you radiate happiness. And you don't have to say it radiates.
Yep.
How's that?
It is. The word that you used a couple of times that I really loved is you said file, right? So you take a piece of information and you file it away. And the imagery you get obviously of a filing cabinet, a piece of, maybe it's a folder, a document, you put in a cabinet and you put it away. And it could be there for your disposal. If you recall it, you can go back in that cabinet and take it out. but it may end up just staying there too, and you may never recall it. And I think that is very important for people to understand, because there very well could be things in our internal filing cabinet that maybe we've forgotten about. That's been there waiting
Yes,
for us to recall it. And so I think that provides a really, really good imagery.
yes. Well, when you're born and you're a
Mhm.
new baby, the first thing you have to do is cough out the amniotic fluid that's in your lung. And so you have to learn the mechanism of coughing, and you file that in your subconscious.
Yes.
The next thing is you have to swallow some milk and not get it down the wrong way. And it's quite a complex set of little muscle movements, and you file them away. And every time you swallow, you call on it, but you don't have to go through all the details. They're all filed in your subconscious, unconscious mind. And so when you learn to walk, you file all the details in your unconscious mind, but
Right.
they just come when you need them. You don't have to tell them to come, they just do. It's
Right.
all connected together. And by learning about how we do it and what we do, you can improve your life a great deal.
Yes.
Most people are interested in being happy,
Hmm.
well, healthy. And
Yes.
you can do that through the thoughts that you carry in your mind.
Hmm. And that's a very important one for people as well, because the thoughts that you have, it's the expression, thoughts become things, right? And so the thoughts that you think becomes the things that you see, and then that becomes your perspective, and that becomes your way of life. And oftentimes, we get into these habits that we just automatically do, that we don't put any thought into. But those are some of those things that you're referring to, are they not?
Yes, they are. And you you're born with some background,
Hmm.
and intuitive children often remember what they've been in previous lives, but
Yes.
it's lost. It fades because we become totally absorbed in this life. But at the background, we've got what we've been before, but it's kept in the background so that you can enjoy and benefit from the learning and catching up with old friends in this life. And so we have this interesting arrangement of our conscious and our unconscious. And
Right.
the unconscious is a lot of background information. When I was a young child, I was told various things. I've always had a knowing within that comes to me when I need it. And that's why I've become interested in telling people about these things, because they're important. I thought everybody listened to the voice they have within, but it
Mm.
turns out a lot of people don't. And that's one of the reasons I've been writing books about consciousness, is to educate people so they can help themselves and improve their lives and their attitude. But the world, everything in the world has its own level of consciousness. We
Yes.
don't understand this. We can't explain it, but
Hmm.
it's there and it's real. And in this time when we're all, you know, jetting around the world and driving motor cars and doing all kinds of things, it pays to remember that we're part of a world conscious community.
Yes.
And if we can send happy thoughts to the world, we can benefit it, because you may have noticed there's a mood of anger sweeping the world. You listen to the news, look at it,
Hmm.
but by your thoughts, your consciousness, you can broadcast happiness to the world. And if we all do that, we'll make a difference.
It's so for it's a profound point, and something that we've all heard before. Think thoughts, think happy thoughts, and if collectively we're doing that and that creating that, because really what you're speaking to is the positive energy that comes out of happy thoughts, right?
Yes, yes. And love. Don't forget love. Love is the most important thing in the world. if we can get everybody to broadcast love, think
Hmm.
of what a difference it'll make. Love
Yeah.
is a powerful energy. Sai Baba, who has been a great influence in my life, said that this world is a great factory and the output is love.
Yeah, no, for sure. So with all your writing and your working and your speaking, what's the one thing that you want people to understand when it comes to consciousness and the conscious thought?
Be aware that you control your own thoughts, and these have an effect on every cell in your body. You can
Mm,
create your own health and happiness. And in your self image, which you hold in your unconscious mind, you motivate what you want to be. This is a subtle influence. I found when I was repairing people and reshaping them, that what they held in their self image in the unconscious mind had a big effect on how they responded. And this is very important in healing and in being and doing and in subtle ways that we can't appreciate. It affects the whole world because there are now 8 billion of us, each of whom has the conscious energy. And if we can take the anger and bitterness out of that, if we can convert it to joy and happiness, you will affect the world mood sweeping around. So remember that your thoughts are not just in your head, it radiates, and your consciousness can bring benefit to the world. Um,
I
and
love
the
it.
other thing is this, that we all have a deeper, higher conscious in our unconscious mind. And this connects with the creative energy, the energy of love that societies, religions call God. We have within the energy, the creative energy, the love energy we call God. Each of us has that within. And Sai Baba, who's been a great influence in the world and still is, said that the most important thing he had to teach was that we each connect within with the energy that society, religions call God. So we have that within and we can call on. You're never alone. You have this energy in your unconscious mind within. So there's an awful lot about how you relate to this and how you ask for things. When you want a thing to happen, if you carry that in your mind with belief and conviction, it will happen. There have been many examples of this. I quote quite a few about this in the book, that you can
Right.
create what you want by holding it in your mind with
Mm,
a firm belief and conviction and hang on to it, it will happen.
mm,
And you know little examples in your own life
sure.
where this has been shown.
Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. Give us the name of the book again, Doctor, and let people know where they can get it.
I've I'm in Amazon Central Author page as Dr. Anthony J. Emmett, and I have a website which is www.dranthonyjemmett.com.au. That's my website. It's got books and you can click on connections in Amazon. You can buy the paper book or you can get the electronic readable form. Um, and I also have an art website.
Okay.
I retrained and became a sculptor and a
Mm,
painter. And
wow.
you'll see many of my sculptures and paintings on my, that's Dr. Tony Emmett.com.au is my art website.
Okay.
But what is art? Art is an interpretation of what you have and the way you see things. And we
Yes.
all see things differently.
Hmm.
You know, for example, that the image coming from the eye to the brain is upside down.
Oh,
And in our unconscious mind, we invert the image so we're seeing it the right way up. Nature could have put a two-lens eye in, but that's more complicated. And all the animals, all our co-animals on this planet have got the same sort of eye. So,
right.
but in your unconscious mind, your higher conscious, you invert the image, but you also edit it. And if you don't want to see something, you can delete it.
Yes.
I first realized that I went to New Zealand as a young surgeon to repair congenital deformities in children. I'd been working in England. I come from Queensland, Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, I bought the cheapest house in a good street to do it up. But it had a view over the hills, but in the foreground, there was a telegraph pole with wires, which I didn't like. Anyway, 6 months later, I was looking at that view and the telegraph pole wasn't there. It was very interesting that my unconscious mind was deleting what I didn't want to see. You find this if you live next to a railway and you don't like the sound. The first few weeks you're there, you'll hear it. After that, you're living there and you just don't hear it because your unconscious mind is deleting what you don't want to hear. And it's so with everything. In our unconscious mind, we interpret the world.
Right.
And we can feed what we want and what we don't want into it. And you can create, by the use of this mechanism, you can create the future you want.
Right.
But you have to believe it and hold it steadily and with conviction.
Nice.
And if you do that, it's a well-known fact that you can create in your own life what you want by the way you hold the conviction. And I quote lots of examples of this in the book.
Nice. That's wonderful. No, doctor, the concept of creating your life through your thoughts, it's one that resonates with many, and many do believe that and practice that. And so I want to thank you for reinforcing that point as well. Thank you for taking the time and being here with me on the Audacious Living podcast. Very much so. I mean, if we want to, live our best audacious life, clearly starts with our thoughts and the way we see things. And so thank you for illustrating that. And all the best, all the best.
Well, thank you. But the thing is, this is real.
Yes.
And this is not just a fanciful notion. It's been shown through the ages to be correct.
Yes.
And the reason why you don't recall all of what you've been in your previous lives is so that you make this life available for creating a new aspect of yourself. You are an eternal jewel. Yes. And you have come to earth for this life to sparkle, polish one facet of the jewel that you are. You are an eternal jewel. Yes. And you are here to polish one more facet.
I love it. That's a great illustration, Doctor. Thank you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Back we are here on the podcast, and much thanks to Dr. Emmett for being here. Now, in a world filled with challenges, negativity, Dr. Emmett reminds us that our thoughts have a profound impact on our health, happiness, and overall well-being. And simply by understanding and leveraging the power of our consciousness, we can create the reality we desire and radiate positive energy to the world around us. Now, as Dr. Emmett beautifully articulates, our thoughts are not just fleeting ideas, but powerful creators of our present reality. By tapping into the deeper levels of subconsciousness and embracing love as a guiding force, we can shape our lives with intention and purpose, leading to a more fulfilling and joyful existence. Now, if you're interested in connecting with Dr. Emmett directly and exploring more of his work, be sure to check out the show notes below for the contact details. I would encourage you to dive deeper into the world of consciousness and unlock the secrets of your mind with Dr. Emmett Emmett's guidance. Stay tuned for also special offers and products that Dr. Emmett may offer, and those are also available on his website. So please, 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 check it out. I'm telling you, man, if you can enhance your understanding of consciousness and transform your life with Dr. Emmett's resources, that'll be a fabulous starting point and a great direction to head down. I want to thank you all for joining us on this edition of the Audacious Living Podcast. As always, I'd encourage you to like, follow, subscribe, share if you haven't done so already. And that's how we grow and touch even more people, spreading positivity and empowerment. Listen, guys, stay audacious and live your best life. Yourself will absolutely appreciate it. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.